Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here, and welcome to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the possibility of a new Wind Master being introduced within Season 15, what the context would be behind that, and how I would like to personally see that come true. Now, within the Ninjago Season 15 theory realm, there exists a bunch of theories regarding what exactly could be going on within Seabound, and as of the time of recording this video, we only have the first 2 episodes available to us in English. And with that being said, this is your formal spoiler warning. If you guys have not seen the first 2 episodes of Season 15 just yet, I recommend clicking off the video, going ahead and checking those out, and then coming back and watching this video, because I do want to go in depth on a couple of other things that I talked about on the channel prior, including a theory of mine that actually turned out to be somewhat true. So let's go ahead and get started. That is your official spoiler warning. If you're still here, then obviously you don't care about spoilers, so let's go ahead and get to it. So what exactly was the theory that I made that turned out to be somewhat relevant or somewhat true? Obviously, Nia's powers have not been doing so hot. They've been kind of on the fritz, and no one really knows what's going on with that, not even Maya. Nia certainly doesn't know either. But something interesting that Master Wu pointed out was when looking at the entire list of elemental powers, water and wind were not listed among them, which is curious to me. Apparently, water and wind come from Wajira, or at least the original embodiment of Wajira, the original sea serpent, if you will. We'll probably be seeing her again later on, but this is something that I talked about prior. I kind of talked about how water specifically might not have been an original elemental power brought into Ninjago from the first Spinjitzu Master. A lot of other elemental masters took powers and cues from the first Spinjitzu Master, and he kind of dispersed a couple of them throughout the elemental masters. Obviously, this isn't the case with every single element, but a large majority of them do originate from the first Spinjitzu Master, but not water or wind, which again, I kind of predicted that water was not going to be an original element from the first Spinjitzu Master. Instead, what I kind of talked about was the possibility of water being controlled by Wajira, and that kind of turned out to be true, along with wind, which is interesting. Was not expecting wind to be part of Wajira's original arsenal. I was sort of just expecting water, but wind kind of makes sense. I mean, storms are traditionally made up of a lot of wind and water and lightning, but yeah, water and wind are not connected to the first Spinjitzu Master, and they were, I guess, stolen from Wajira. We don't have a specific answer to that just yet, but it does kind of make sense, especially in the context of this next theory. So the theory that we're going to be talking about primarily in today's video is the possibility of another Wind Master being introduced. I feel like they mentioned wind for a reason. They wouldn't just mention it for no reason and then not capitalize on that. I feel like Master Wu specifically mentioned wind for a reason. There's a specific reason why wind, along with water, are both elements that Wajira originally controlled, and I believe it's because we're going to be seeing a new Master of Wind later on in Season 15. Now again, that does kind of seem like a long shot, I understand, but considering how Nia is having issues with water, I think it's safe to say that wind will also be touched on a little bit too. But the original Master of Wind, that of course being Moro, he doesn't exist within Ninjago anymore. He is just kind of dead, if you will. He's kind of in the departed realm right now, and he's probably not going to be returning. I'm not suggesting that Moro is going to be returning or anything like that, but we know that elemental powers will seek out a different host if their power is not passed on genetically. In the case of somebody like Nia, she got her powers from her mother, obviously, through genetics, through the bloodline. For somebody like Zane, his power was given to him by the elemental master of ice. If elemental masters do not give their power to somebody, either through genetics or just through sheer will, it's going to find a new host. The elemental power of wind did not die with Moro, so where did that power go? Again, I do have a couple of ideas. The first one is that it just went back to Wajira. Wajira is obviously resting at the bottom of the ocean, probably still dormant. I mean, we're not really sure what's going on with her, but it is possible that once Moro perished towards the end of Season 5, Wind managed to return to her somehow because she was the original bearer of that power. That could explain also why she doesn't have possession of water, because the elemental masters of water kept on passing it down through the bloodline. It would make sense why Wajira does not have access to water, but has access to wind. Now, of course, there is a possibility that wind could have awakened Wajira, returning to her, but I don't think that's the case. Otherwise, it would have happened a long time ago. It's not like the wind power just recently kind of got cut off from Ninjago. Wind has been gone for quite a while, so I feel like Wajira gaining that power, she just kind of gained it while she was still dormant, if she did indeed gain it at all. Otherwise, she would have woken up immediately following possession, but, that's neither here nor there. There also is the possibility that water is needed to, I guess, wake up Wajira as well. You need a combination of water and wind, and since they have wind already, they still need water, and that's maybe why Nia's powers are going haywire. Maybe the Call of the Deep is trying to absorb water power. Who knows? That might be Kalmar's plan after all. And in terms of a new Wind Master, if wind did not directly go back to Wajira, where could it have gone? It's got to be somewhere in Ninjago, maybe laying dormant within a person season or so, maybe laying dormant within a future elemental master. Now again, I do feel like they mentioned wind for a reason. I feel like wind is going to have something to do with Wajira, have something to do with this season. Otherwise, they probably just would have kept it at water, and that's about it. But they said wind, so let's go ahead and discuss who the future master of wind could potentially be. I've already done a couple of videos on these individual characters gaining the wind power, but just hear me out on this one. The first candidate that we have here is Pixel. Now, Pixel, I feel like, could very well be the Master of Wind for a couple of reasons, or at least become a future Master of Wind. For one, it's shown that Nindroids can indeed obtain elemental power, because Zane exists, and Zane has ice power, and obviously Pixel has half of Zane's heart last time I checked. It's not super clear after she rebuilt herself if she removed that feature, or kind of kept it in, but either way, I feel like it's very likely that Pixel could indeed obtain the elemental power of Wind. We also know that in Season 15, she will be having quite a significant role. In terms of seasons 12, 13, and 14, yeah, Pixel has not really had a lot of time in the spotlight. Other ninja and other characters have kind of taken that, and Pixel has just been treated as kind of like a background character. In season 15, she's there for a reason. She's there following alongside the ninja. She's going to be a main part of the upcoming story. We know that for a fact. Pixel is definitely going to have a bigger role, so why not go ahead and give her the elemental power of wind? Maybe she could team up with Nia towards the end of the season, and maybe they could, combine Wajira's powers and use them against her. I could totally see that working. Another candidate that I have here is Little Nelson. People love Little Nelson. I think Nelson's quite a cool character. I think he could very well become a ninja. Obviously, he has some training and growing to do, but I still feel like he could be obtaining the power of wind at some point. If it is Nelson, though, I don't think we're going to be seeing him at all in the season. I think it's going to be like an end credits thing or something like that, maybe towards the end of the season that kind of tease it a little bit more. But either way, I feel like Nelson could indeed obtain the power of wind if the series really wanted to give him an elemental power. The third and final candidate that we're going to be talking about is Nia. Now, it does sound kind of crazy, but Nia might be obtaining both of Wajira's powers. We're not entirely sure. But what if she actually reaches a stage where she can use 2 elemental powers? That's another possibility that I have written down here. What if Nia fought off Wajira using both of her elemental powers against her? That could certainly make for an interesting story. Wajira did originally control both water and wind, so it would make sense for Nia to obtain that type of power and use it against Wajira throughout the final battle of Season 15, whatever that may or may not look like. Now, the reason why I mentioned maybe Nia could control both elemental powers is because I'm not sure if the series would want to include a partner for her. Say, for example, if Pixel were to obtain the elemental power of wind, I feel like the finale will feature Nia and Pixel going up against Wajira, again, using both of the powers against her, as opposed to just Nia fighting off Wajira, or whoever the bad guy of Season 15 is going to be, whoever Nia is going to be facing in the final battle. If I were writing the series, I would very much love for the battle to focus on her specifically. I wouldn't want her to have a partner or anything like that. I would very much love to see Nia just fight the battle on her own. Say if she does fight it on her own though, and perhaps she doesn't use wind as well, that could mean that Wajira might still have wind, and maybe it could be a water versus wind type of battle. After Wajira gets defeated, maybe the wind element will seek out a new host, and maybe that host could be Pixel or Nelson. Who's really to say? Either way, I feel like the final battle of Season 15 will focus on Nia specifically. I don't think she's going to have a partner or anything like that, so I don't think we will see a new Master of Wind that quick. If we do, it's probably going to be Nia herself, but I doubt that the series is going to be doing that. Regardless, though, to summarize my overall thoughts on this theory, I think a future Master of Wind is somewhat reasonable. I feel like we will see that at some point throughout the series before the series actually concludes, because there are a couple of main characters that could indeed obtain some type of power. Again, Pixel, Nelson. I feel like those two are the most likely candidates to obtain some type of elemental power, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I feel like the reason why we haven't really seen a new Master of Wind, though, is because it went back to Wajira. Maybe Wajira will wake up with that wind power, and we will see a wind versus water battle towards the end of the season. I think that's very much likely. Otherwise, I'm not sure why they would have mentioned wind. Maybe it's just for some other reason, maybe to set up a future story, or maybe it's just a little Easter egg. Kind of seems a little weird, though, that they would mention wind and not do anything with it, but that's just my thoughts on that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to my thoughts on this video. I apologize if it was kind of a little discombobulated. I mean, I had a lot to say, and I understand that the video might not have been, structured the best way, but there's just a lot to talk about. I feel like we will definitely see a new Master of Wind, however, at some point within Season 15. So leave all your thoughts down below in the comments regarding this, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and check out the links down below in the description from other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the Marvelous Jan. Thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. My name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.